What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Smoke World. I'm your host, Stone, so go grab that stick, go grab a glass, whatever you're drinking. Let's sit back and have a conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at SmokeWorld50. Send those emails to SmokeWorld50@gmail.com. Today, we're live on the back porch. I'm sitting with my man P-Dub and J-Dub. That's correct, you heard it correctly. P-Dub and J-Dub. What's up, fellas?
Yo.
What's going on? How you feeling tonight?
Yo, for the Germans out there, du bist für Scheiße.
Whoa. Okay. For the Russians.
Coming out the gate.
Здравствуйте, как дела?
Stone, Привет, брат. All right, if I may, this is a warning shot from J-Dub that this show might get a little raw, a little rough.
Hey, baby.
No,
There is no
I'm gonna dumb it
FCC
down.
etiquette. Hey, say what you want to say, do how you want to do it. Everything goes.
So
No
get ready
bars
to get a
hold.
rough, tough conversation. Or maybe not.
They
better know.
Who knows?
This may be the biggest waste of your time that you won't get back ever. You just
Hey, exactly. You never know. You never know. But what we're doing is we're smoking, we're drinking.
Tell them what we drinking though. For those out there in the other countries, yada yada yada.
Give a little brief. We're gonna let P-Dub give a little breakdown on what we're drinking here tonight.
No, that's not mine. It's J-Dub's.
Well, that's fine, but that's J-Dub, but
I offered the cigars.
well, that's true. Well, you can elaborate on the cigar that we're smoking.
So a buddy of mine does a lot of Caribbean traveling, and he knows I can't because I have a disability. So I got him into cigars because he never smoked cigars, just cigarettes. And I'm kind of proud of that fact because he came home from a trip and he found one of those little boutique, I guess small shops.
Mom and pop, brick and mortar.
That are common in that area. And he picked these up from a place called Island Cigar Factory, and it's in Key West, Florida. I don't know much about it, but I think they make all their stuff on
in-house.
the spot. Yeah.
Okay.
And these are Churchills with what I call a barber pole.
Absolutely.
Wrap. So,
Absolutely. Very good smoke. Medium body smoke. Nice little draw on it. It's very good smoke. Thank you.
Yeah.
We've been blessed with that. Well, like I said, we're going to have, I guess, J-Dub, the other Dub, introduce the whiskey that we're drinking this evening, sir.
Before we go into the whiskey right quick,
Uh-oh.
hey P-Dub,
Told you.
what's now you have our host of the podcast is a Philly boy,
Right.
or as we say, Philly bull.
Right on.
And what's our word for an adjective?
Oh, yeah. So we're getting ready to imbibe that Jeffrey.
No, not that Jeffrey,
John.
that John.
Right on.
damn.
But I thought that Jeffrey was the specific John because what I've noticed about that. Now listen, I'm a white
Folks,
guy.
I'm confused already.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to be clear that I'm the white guy tonight.
Yeah, we do have a token white person.
Yes.
So for those who are listening,
It's
we're a diverse podcast
It's a diverse
tonight.
show. So from what I understand, the Philly Chester area noun John, J-A-W-N, correct,
Go ahead, boy.
is a universal noun,
Yes.
and I'm convinced it's to confuse the cops.
Whoa, how cops get to this? Yo, what's going on right now?
I don't know. I'm just trying to
How
add.
the cops get into this?
I just notice things, and I notice it's a floating noun. But from what I understand, when you have a very specific thing that you really like, and Dubsy and I have a vodka that we share that we call that Jeffrey.
Absolutely.
Is that the best way I can interpret that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So we're getting some Chester vibe around here, Philly vibe.
Whoa, okay, folks. It's all free. There's no charge. You're listening to this, you're getting a lesson again. Street lingo. So if you're listening and you don't know, send an email. We'll send you the book. It's only $20. $20. $20.
Nice.
They give you all the interpretations. When you get car stopped by the police, it tells you what to say and what not to say.
So look, it's already
Like the Green Book.
So it's already
Absolutely.
it's already taken us 5 minutes to finally tell the people what we're drinking. So they're thirsty.
Yeah, that was
Okay, you know what?
J-Dub,
Very
he
good
gets a little
segue. Thank you for allowing me the platform in regards to
Off-road.
this auspicious event.
oh damn.
Yo, this thing we drinking right now, whoo! It's called Nikka Coffey Grain for those individuals off seas or out of the country that like the whiskey. Now, of course, you can't call it Scotch because Scotland locked it down. But this thing here is called Nikka Coffey Grain. Nikka Coffey Grain. if we could put a picture on the podcast of what this thing is.
We will do that. We will take a picture. I will post it.
Actually, Dubsy took one earlier in the light, so he's got it.
Dubsy got a cheap Apple.
But you're not
iPhone
watch him
camera.
out. Watch him
But
out.
you're not
we
telling
won't
them
take
why
one.
it's a good whiskey and
It is
where
a
it's
good
from.
whiskey. It
Where
is
is
a
it
good
from?
whiskey.
Where is
The
it from?
notes on it is caramel. You got the floral notes. It's not hefty like an Islay. You can kind of put it in the range of a Speyside Lowland. No, Speyside Highland. Speyside Highland. No peak to it. It's a nice one,
But
with the cigar.
I would say it's a nice smooth drink, but it still has a little bit of that bite that I like.
Oh, don't
Because
get
when
me
I
wrong.
when I do an adult beverage, I don't want it to be completely smooth.
Oh, the
Gotcha.
profile's
I
off
just
the
want
chain.
a little bit of a
Little
bite
bite.
at the end to
Yeah.
remind you that you're drinking something that
Yes.
could kick your ass.
Oh yeah,
basically.
the profile's off the chain. You're gonna get something on the back end, not heavy. You're gonna taste it, but it's not heavy.
So why is it important? You haven't told them where it's from yet.
Right.
Sorry, folks.
It's a Japanese whiskey.
There we go.
You already know Scotland locked down the whole Scotch-ish. But the history, we're not gonna go there. But it's a nice Japanese. It's not Suntory. It's not Hibiki. It's not Tori. What's that? Yamazaki. It's plugged with that whole area somewhat, but
Give it a
yo,
shot.
it's a nice. It's nice. It's real nice.
I do concur with that. It's a very smooth whiskey. It's pairing well with the cigar. So, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
for
I
introducing-
figured out why you did this podcast.
Uh-oh.
Whenever you go sit with some people and have a conversation, you get treated.
Don't tell anybody my secret now. Don't, folks. If you're listening, don't believe it, but believe it.
I'm in a
Yeah. Don't believe it. Right.
Believe it, but don't believe it.
Oh, and for the German out here, we drinking Spaten
lager.
Lager.
It's nice. And
Yes.
and Dubsy's doing it right. He let it get to warm up a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. In true German form.
Yeah, you don't want to drink
Absolutely.
that cold. It'll be too
Oh,
tight.
no. We're not doing it in Germany. Yeah, we're not doing that in Germany. Well, we ain't doing it here. We following the German format.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
You got some music playing in the background. P-Dub. P-Dub's got his mix. I don't know if you can hear it. You may be able to hear it a little bit in the
I
background.
could take it up a notch if it's not going to interrupt.
I don't think so. We'll find out when we
Let them
when folks start listening
know
to it.
this on
It's on SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, right?
And it's under Patrick P-Dub Warner. I guess everybody's got my last name. I'm going to get doxxed. Oh, well.
Yeah, we got him.
I'm already on SoundCloud, so it's too
Right.
late. And by the
Right.
way, if somebody wants to steal my identity, please do.
Yeah.
You're going to be worse off than you think.
Can you help it, brother? Can you help me?
No, but this is, if you can hear the music, it's one of the mixes I made when I used to DJ at the Cigar Lounge in Wilmington.
Well, okay, you say used to. So we're going to kind of, so how long ago was that? You say used
I'm
to.
going to say, I think it was 8 years ago, roughly. I think it
years
was around
ago?
2012 I stopped.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was because a disability started to present its symptoms, physical disability, a kind of muscular dystrophy,
Okay.
progressive muscle disease. So it's just slowly getting worse, but it doesn't hurt. So
There's
I'm
no,
okay.
no pain
Yeah, there's
associated
no
with
pain.
it. Okay.
But it just, I tried to keep DJing, but let me say it this way. I have a lot of wonderful friends that support me with this, but when it takes 3 people to get you there and set up for you, and then a different set of 3 because maybe they can't stay all night,
Right.
it takes the fun out of it. Even though everybody's being generous with their time and energy to help me,
Yes.
you get it. But the other thing is, you can't do house music like we're listening to sitting down. You got to stand up and own the room and own the rig to do the beat matching and get the energy. So I tried DJing a little bit longer, just doing like 60s, 70s, 80s,
Okay.
90s hits and standards that you would imagine with those decades.
Gotcha.
And that worked for a little while, and then it just, I'm not saying I won't do it again, but it just, I guess tedious would be the word. You know,
Okay.
and you can't be a good DJ if you're feeling all tedious. How's that energy going to fill that room? you
Gotcha.
know?
Now, how long did you DJ for?
So that's a funny story. I had a restaurant client in Wilmington, and in 2007, we were marketing a Friday Night Live musical act,
Okay.
and the guy bailed. a couple of days in advance, fortunately. So I went online and found this little iPod mixer where you could put 2 iPods in,
Right.
and crossfade between them. I'd never DJ'd in my life. I've always made mixtapes, and I have an ear for music. Yeah. So I just said, and a buddy of mine had some extra speakers, 18-inch PVs, and a Yamaha power source, and he gave it to me. And from then on, it just happened. But I got to tell you, I was the world's worst DJ for most of the time.
Well, I mean, when did you start that? What year was that? Do you remember
07.
when 07.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was 37 at the time.
Okay.
And had never done it before, but I was pitching in to help a client.
Right.
And I loved it. And by world's worst DJ, I mean I hadn't figured out how to beat match, crossfade,
Right, how to blend the
how
music.
to use the mixer.
Right.
Right. I kept turning the main source down to jump to the next song, and I learned a lot. But it was at a restaurant that's closed now, a Meritage, where they would let me DJ to try and bring people in. It never really worked. That's why it closed. Not because of me, but it just wasn't a spot. Maybe it was because of me.
Make you clarify that.
I mean,
they didn't close because of you.
I'm self-deprecating. I'll take it. You know what? I take that as an honor. But I was dropping some dubstep in there, and all of a sudden I got the beat to match. And from then on,
it was fire.
yeah. And I just had to realize you had to beat match to the hi hat, keeping the bass in tune. Otherwise, you'd have what I learned was called a train wreck. You know, where all the highs are just slamming into each other. So
words don't match up with words.
But I'm one of these guys that just decides, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. So when I did my own podcast, which doesn't exist anymore, I just said, let's do it. You know, why not? Have some fun. And you know what?
Life is short. You definitely got to have some fun.
Well, and I'm one of those guys that has no problem making mistakes and getting embarrassed, because every one of those things teaches you.
Yes, experience
If
is a
it's
great
easy,
teacher.
you take it for granted, and you never lose that. But I was nervous before every show, and I felt like if that didn't happen, then I should probably quit. Like, because I liked it so much and I didn't want to mess up everybody's night.
Right.
And so just like this podcast, it began a little rough because Dubsy went off the rails. But whenever I had a show start smoothly, I knew I was in trouble. Because halfway through the night,
something jumped off.
People would request songs and get upset that I didn't have a song. And I would say, well, do you have a radio in your car? And they'd say yes. And I'd be like, well, go listen to the song in there.
Oh, you was that DJ. You was that guy.
Right. But if the show started off bumpy, I knew it was going to be a good night.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a really good experience. And what's neat about it is it's more social than you think.
Yes.
Even though you're stuck back there, you get to know people. I got a lot of friends on Facebook that way.
Yes.
But here's the secret to anybody that doesn't DJ. Just because we're behind our speaker stack doesn't mean we can't hear you. I can tell you, I heard some nasty things said about my sets that they thought I couldn't hear.
So based on that whole experience, is there any tips that you can give to somebody who's thinking about getting into DJing? What would you recommend?
Well,
based on your experience and your bumpy roads.
So there were a couple local DJs that I loved, and I met one of them playing his set, and the other one was on the floor dancing with me to house music. And the two of them really didn't go out of their way to teach me because it's kind of territorial, but make some friends with some guys that do it and just talk to them and hang out. Especially if you're a fan, they're going to appreciate it anyway. Also, I just love music. I love sharing music, and I love talking about music.
Okay.
That helped because I'm no good at playing music and I can't sing. So what I called it, really, I wasn't DJing. I was just sharing songs I thought you would like.
Gotcha.
Especially with house music, because I would just hear a song, go on iTunes, and it kept telling you might like this track. So I'd buy 20 of those because the 10-second clip, I was like, this is going to be a good one. I'd go out and exercise and listen to them all and audition them.
Okay.
And maybe out of the 20, 15 of them were good and 5 were throwaway.
Gotcha.
But I couldn't tell you the names of any of the songs or who made them. I just liked how they sounded, you know.
That's
And so
what it's all about.
this mix is an example of that, and what I would play
That sounds good.
at the lounge in Wilmington. So, yeah,
Wow.
thanks for letting me share that story.
Oh, man,
But the
absolutely.
bigger story for everybody is whether it's DJing or whatever, if there's something you want to do, just do it.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go learn it. Like if you want to bartend, it'd probably be better to go to the restaurant and say, look, I want to learn to bartend, and you take all the bad shifts and you learn. Don't go pay money for a bartender school. It's not the same. Because
Right.
whatever you learn there is going to be messed up by the time you get there. Because each restaurant's its own way.
Yes, it is.
So the bottom line is, whatever you want to do, whether it's write or paint or try a new career,
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Why not? Because you're already miserable where you are.
Yeah, and life is short, and tomorrow's
you're
not promised.
Yeah, or you want to just augment your life and have other facets to yourself, other skills, I mean, look, I had a conversation about something that if I hadn't done it, we wouldn't be talking about.
That's very true.
Even though it's in my past now.
Well, maybe yes and no.
Well, yeah,
You're
you're
just
right.
not
I'm
doing
not
it.
saying no, not
Right.
now is what I'm saying.
You still have the skill
Yeah,
set.
and I'm saying not now
Right.
instead of no. And that's another good attitude to have.
Absolutely.
You never know. So I appreciate you letting me share that.
Oh, definitely. This was all about having a conversation, light a cigar, have a conversation.
But that's actually how Dubsy and I met. Because he came in one night, I was wearing my cowboy boots.
Go ahead, preach the thing,
and
preach
he,
it, boy.
and he had his cowboy
Preach the
boots
thing,
on.
boy.
And he and his guys thought I was this big, arrogant, standoff dude, 6'2", 250 with cowboy boots. Dude, I don't look like a DJ, trust me. It's like the opposite of what you might think. But he was wearing his cowboy boots, and I think we hit it off that night.
Yeah, right, we hit it off that night.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And connected ever since. Oh, on top of, let me say this for the podcast, on top of P-Dub, military child.
Army brat, specifically.
Army brat, specifically. And for those that's out there that listening, we got some listeners out there.
I never served, to be clear, but
Right,
I'm an
no
Army
doubt.
brat.
Oh, I got that. I got you. For those that's out there that listen to the podcast, and we have a lot of members of the podcast that are military brats as well, you already know the connection. Color is no, we're not going politics, but color is no issue. It's about connection, cigars, and this.
Conversation.
Yes.
Well, and my mom hates that I've smoked cigars, but when my disability kicked in, the friends that have helped me the most, and this is not knocking any other friends that have helped me or didn't help me, I'm okay with that too,
Right.
are my cigar brothers of the leaf, as we call them.
Yes.
And so she's like, wow, those are great friends. They're amazing people. They're generous. They help
But I don't
everyone."
like to smoke,
No,
Patrick.
but I said, if I hadn't started smoking cigars, I wouldn't have met the most amazing
Yeah.
people ever. And my theory on that is, you get a good cigar, average 40, 45 minutes. If you can't sit there with somebody for 45 minutes and have a conversation that's worth having,
Yes.
or put up with somebody trying to go all alpha on you, right?
Right.
Then they don't stick around. So what you end up doing is meeting some amazing people. And our lounge in particular has everybody from every background and business career. So that's fun because it's not like we're going out with all of the office crew and having
Right.
the same conversations we just did an hour ago. So I think the social aspect of cigar smoking is a very powerful thing. And our lounge is probably 70% black. Probably.
Okay, we can dumb it down to 60.
Yeah, it's still a majority, but it's also in a part of the city that's mostly white. So
True.
when they first moved in, some of the people that I know up in that neighborhood were kind of turning
Of
their
course,
noses up
of course.
for two reasons. There was a new element in the neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a cigar lounge in the neighborhood. So it was a double whammy. What they weren't upset, what bothered them. And I wouldn't call it racist. I would call it there was this new thing in the area
Uncomfortability,
that-
right.
Yeah, but
Right.
there, I still had to like rein them in on some of their attitudes. I said, look, you have a bunch of people in our part of the city now that have the ability to roll up a $10 bill and set it on fire. So there's some money rolling in now.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
they're going to use the restaurants around the lounge because the lounge doesn't serve food. So like the cigar culture really, even though they say that tobacco is bad for you, which it is,
Right.
there's a lot of really positive energy around the cigar community. And some of the most amazing people I've met are the cigar folk. And then my friendship with Dubsy and my bus, as I call them, which are my black cigar friends.
Right.
Well, right? I just noticed things.
No, that's good. I like that good acronym.
Keeping it real.
I just happen to notice that.
Right.
I'm not judging it or anything.
No.
But we've gotten into some real rich conversations on current events, usually, and then also back into the history of the European worldview versus the African worldview. And I keep saying that if everybody in the world, but specifically in the U.S. right now in the current times, would just go meet people that aren't like them
Right,
and try
like-minded.
to build a relationship,
Have a conversation.
that's more important than a new activist group or a new government policy, because we're doing the real thing, and I think you have to have courage to do that. And then just like we are skirting issues right now, you also have to be willing to make fun of each other and push each other. But just because you're doing that, you might find out that person's an asshole when you're making a friend.
That's
Well,
very
you know
true.
what? If the person's an asshole and you say, I don't want to be your friends, it has nothing to do with anything else, because everybody can be an asshole to
Yes.
somebody. So this is a lot of the stuff I've pulled in from being a cigar smoker. And I started smoking cigars around 2007 also.
Okay.
Yeah, I got invited to a cigar dinner, and I was like, I'll try it. The first cigar I had, even though I messed it all up, I was like, I can do this.
Do
And it
you recall what cigar it was?
No. If anything, I could say a Cuba Cuba, but
Okay. It's sweet.
Yeah,
Or
probably.
infused. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're saying
But I have a
infused.
wide palate. Like
Gotcha.
I bought a box deal once, and I hated that because I was stuck with that same cigar, and it was a double Ajero LFD.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah, hold on. You know that shit ish though. You know that shit ish.
No, I like.
When I first met you, you was on that LFD hard.
Yeah, but
hard.
airbenders and Coronados.
Airbender, right?
Yeah.
Airbenders.
But
yeah.
dude, when you're stuck with 20 double
same.
Ajeros that are 2-hour smokes and they're too strong to give to friends,
Yeah.
I said I'll never do a box deal ever again.
Right.
I have a wide palate anyway. Are we allowed to say
Yes.
online companies?
Sure.
Okay. One of the best things I did was the Thompson cigar
Okay.
$30 subscription. I get 5 quality sticks once a month, and they're always random. That doesn't mean you end up with something again later, like an Oliva V shows up. But I love it because I'm finding things that I never knew existed, and I'm not a research guy.
Right.
I let things come to me.
Gotcha.
That's
Smart
why you
man.
don't pin me down on facts. Because
Hold on, no, you're an anthropologist by trade though.
Yeah, so
well, not trade, but education.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you're an anthropologist by education.
So you learn that there's a lot of good things around the world, or right in your neighborhood, that are worth enjoying, or at least looking into. And and if you don't like it, that's okay.
That's fine.
Right? Don't suffer. So
Can I make a clarification right quick?
Yes, sir.
Smoke World. We're talking Wilmington, Delaware.
oh right, not North Carolina.
Not North Carolina. Right, not North Carolina. No shade on Wilmington, North Carolina.
So
a lot of history.
I have
Yeah.
a friend who's in dispatch for the city, and he gets calls all the time from people in North Carolina. But they'll call up and say, hey, I put a mattress out and you didn't pick it up. And he's like, well, what street do you live on? And they'll say Waldorf and Astoria. And he's like, well, we don't have those street names in Delaware. Are you in North Carolina? So whenever they Google the phone number, he would get city problems from that city.
That is so ironic you said that, because my spouse, if y'all don't know, Rose, for those that listen on the podcast on a regular, my spouse is from Wilmington, North Carolina. And just like Wilmington, Delaware, they have a Market Street. Rose was born right off Market Street in Wilmington, North Carolina. Like the same streets that they have here in Wilmington, Delaware, they have in Wilmington, North Carolina. So sometimes I see what you're saying.
Aren't you a Wilmington boy?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm a Wilmington.
Delaware.
Delaware, yeah, unfortunately.
All right, we're boring these people now.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Give them a little education. We're gonna shout out the lounges. I'm gonna try to go down a quick list.
Go ahead,
Forgive me
boy.
if I forget somebody. I'm not gonna give the locations because
that's
I don't
why
have
that's why I haven't
specific
been saying
locations.
names.
Oh, we talking the tri-state area?
Well, I'm just saying, the area that we smoke in. Again,
Okay.
we're here in Delaware. I think the lounge you guys was talking about Sakar.
Sakar.
Okay, we got Sakar.
1624 North DuPont Street,
Okay,
Wilmington.
now if he knows, I'm going to start naming stuff. He just now hit that address. I don't know if he's going to know the address to the rest of these, but I'm going to name the lounges. Like I said, we got Sakar. We have E Square. We have Tobacco Field, what we call Tobacco Field 2. We have Spartan. And we have a new cigar lounge, Cigar Sessions.
Is that in Middletown?
Middletown,
Yeah, that's
right.
brand new. This opened up actually yesterday, and today is, we're recording just today, it's Friday,
I can
October 9th.
give areas in regards to Sakar, Wilmington, Delaware,
Yes.
Spartan, Elkton, Maryland, Cigar Sessions, Middletown, Delaware,
And E Square is
is on
Newarkish.
Newarkish,
Yeah.
Wilmington, Newarkish, Kirkwood Highway. We can
Yes.
use that.
So,
Yeah.
folks, if you're listening, you're in the area, if you're in that vicinity, one of those lounges, go check them out.
And
Again, it's always important to support the brick and mortar. Like I said, I know you guys, like I said, based on, I'm hearing you say this all the time about the pandemic. The pandemic came upon us, so we were ordering online by default. But now things are starting to open up slowly. It's important to go out and support these lounges. The brick and mortar is where we get to meet
and
our
I've had the
folks.
same experience in every lounge.
Yeah,
Meeting all these great people.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's all about the experience and conversation. You take a stick, take a drink, whatever you're drinking, whether it be coffee, soda, juice, tea, whiskey. Sit down and have a conversation.
That's
And
awesome.
this current event and current, temperature we're in, again, all we need to do is have a conversation, folks.
Mix it up.
That's it. Change it up a little
But
bit.
it does take courage, but it's worth the risk. And again, as an Army brat, I know I have an advantage there because we moved 18 times in 20
Oh, wow.
years. So I had to mix it up all the time. And a lot of the all the Army bases I lived on, there were mixed race couples.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just black and white. It was Puerto Rican and
diverse
Asian, whatever.
group.
So when I first came back to Delaware in '89 and went to the mall, and there were some mixed race couples in there, they'd always get that second look over the shoulder when they passed by. And so even in '89, there was still like this stigma or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So my exposure, I understand that I had an advantage because I never grew up in one spot, but I've noticed when people grow up in one spot and they grow up with their people around them, a lot of those barriers form.
Yes.
Not necessarily because of evil or meanness, but you're just stuck in your silo because that's what you know.
Yeah.
And
Comfortability.
In fact, talk about the band that you was with back in the day.
So I did a little punk band in West Point, New York, and I was the throat.
Right on the Hudson.
Again, I can't sing, so I call myself the throat. And don't take that the wrong
throat.
way.
Don't, yeah. Wasn't deep throat,
None
was
of
it?
that.
No.
Okay.
No,
We gotta clarify
not
that.
that Nixon shit.
Yeah,
not that Nixon
we need
shit.
to clarify. Clarification.
If I may, I still have my gag reflex. So.
Yes. That's my dog.
Yes.
No, but it was a neat cross section of several different kinds of cultures. So on Army bases, there's almost like a class system: enlisted, field officers, which are
Absolutely.
once you hit colonel, full bird, I think that's where they're not field officers anymore. It may be lieutenant colonel. Doesn't matter.
Lieutenant colonel's field officer,
Okay,
but
yeah.
colonel's is
Yeah.
more
So
administrative.
my dad was a field officer, so we lived in a middle class neighborhood. Our guitarist Mark, his dad was enlisted, so he lived up in Stony Lonesome, which is where all the enlisted folk were parked. But our drummer, his dad was a general. Now, housing on the Army base is based on your rank. His dad was a general. They had a basement. I had two siblings plus me, so there were three kids. Our house only had three bedrooms, master bedrooms. So, and then Mark's house was tiny. So
it wasn't Storm King.
So,
You know about Storm King, yeah.
No.
It was
He
right
said
across
no.
the river, but nonetheless. But go ahead.
So anyway, that was one cross section through the ranks. But then Mark, our guitarist, was black.
Right.
So we had an integrated band. That's a great word to use.
Right.
Yeah, it's 1960.
That's
We
a
finally
great
integrated
band.
that band.
Right.
He played like Jimi Hendrix, huh?
I'm sorry, Stoney, but with this underbite, if I sneeze, I'm going to swallow my face. So anyway, we put this little band together, and it was awesome. And it was a neat little example of what living in a community that just really is all there together for one reason, Army. You start to not care about some of the nuances, but you're also not in a silo. But every time I moved, I had to make a new set of friends, and you just went with them. So when I suggest people go and try to make friends with people that aren't like them, don't look like them,
Don't think like them.
or don't live where they live, I know it takes courage, but it's worth the payoff. And I think I've said that 3 times, so I'm going to move off that.
No, that's a very important factor. That's a very
Very
important point.
poignant factor. Very poignant. But go ahead.
So to take it on a lighter note, just before we started the podcast, we were going to start talking about something, and I said, "No, I think we should put it on a podcast because it's a cigar related."
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You got to bring it up.
Topic.
Yes.
So at one of the cigar lounges, they had these Calibri guillotine cutters that weigh 800 pounds.
Cube, Calibri 1928 Cube.
And I call
It's
it
red, black. You can get colors.
I call them a guillotine cutter because
Yes.
the straight side is definitely like that, and it's one of the ones you plunge the top. Well, the V cut's on the opposite side of the straight cut, and with my disability, my hands don't work well.
You got to hold on. Let me say, we got to push it.
Yeah,
to
you have
cut
to
it.
push it down to cut it. Thank you, that helps.
Right.
So I was doing a V cut, and my pinky got lazy and fell into the straight cut, and it took. Honestly, I should have gotten a tattoo to make it look like a cigar because it was a perfect cut. I could have smoked my pinky, but I missed the fingernail, and it was just the end of the pinky. So when I bought this and put it out on the porch, I nicknamed it the Moil. Okay.
Hold on. Where did you get the? If we can go from a historical perspective, where did you get the idea? Was it when I took you to Spartan back in November?
No, I just found it and liked it, but I called it.
okay.
I called it the Moil because Moils perform the bris, which
He
is
said the brisk.
bris, which is the Jewish.
Yes, I'm with
circumcision.
you.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm just laughing.
So I'm an honorary Jew right now because my Moil circumcised my pinky. So, yeah, you're laughing, and this is not made up. I think it's a wild coincidence. But it has a second victim.
Yes.
And the second victim is sitting across from me, and his name is J-Dub. So we've both been cut by this. Now, we both got tested for AIDS. We're okay.
We
but
good.
His doctor gave him a tetanus shot, and mine didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's because
Okay,
a lot of people...
I got to pause you right there, sir. So, when you unfortunately made this cut to your pinky,
Yeah, I bled like
you
crazy.
required some medical attention.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I got the call. Blood all over the place.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
So, folks, if you're going to go out and
yeah.
get this particular cutter,
Use the side of your hand.
Yeah,
be very
not your palm.
careful. It's not for kids, whether you be
It ain't kid friendly.
So
40 or 80. It's not for kids.
So here's the deal. I've learned since then that our American fighter pilots, when they take down 5 bogeys, they become an ace. So this Moyle will have a new name, Ace, as soon as it gets his 5th person.
Oh no, ain't nobody messing with that. Ain't nobody messing with
So
that.
anyway, be careful with them, but they're fantastic
Absolutely,
cutters.
they're fantastic cutters. No shade on the brand or anything of that nature.
Just be aware.
Human error. Very good. The Cube, very good cut. The brand, no problem.
Well, that's kind
Human error.
It's, OE, operator error.
Right.
It's not that cheap either. That's pretty.
$100-some.
Yeah, that's a pricey
Low
cutter.
hundreds.
Yeah, that's pricey. For
But it's worth it.
stony
It
steel.
self-sharpens, and it weighs a ton. You could put it in a tube sock and have home defense with it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's military shit. You know that's military-ish. Yeah. For those Germans and Russians and Latvians and all that.
Got your
That's
security.
military, yeah. So put it in a sock and do work. Yeah.
A bar of soap
Basic
works.
training.
A bar of soap
Basic
works.
training. Basic training. Put it in, for those who flake off from the
Gomer Pyle, jelly
Yeah,
donuts.
yeah.
In fact, right now I'm going to use it.
So be careful.
Yeah.
Folks,
Yeah.
you mean
At least there's witnesses.
911 is, oh, okay. Oh, he didn't take his finger. That's beautiful.
Nice
all,
V-cut.
all cigar.
And by the way, the V-cut thing, when I first was introduced to it, I'm like, this is bougie, right?
Go ahead, fool.
Bourgeois.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Bourgeois.
You want the
But
ball, but
I've
the
come, I've come to enjoy the V-cut the best because I feel like it takes the least amount of cigar away. And if you smoke it vertically, you get a good seal on it. It's, to me, better
It's
than a
nice draw.
punch, better than a straight
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
So, if you're new to cigars, give it a shot. But if you do it horizontally, the air leaks out of your mouth. So, that's enough.
And you don't want the tar all on the side of your lips. You know what I mean? Yada, yada, yada.
I'm cursed with that.
If you're a slobberer, and you know what I mean,
Well, see,
you know.
as a slobberer, the one thing I can't do is hold a cigar in my mouth with my mouth. I start drooling. I just
that
start
it is
drooling.
a skill set.
Yeah,
That
I
is a
don't
skill
understand
set.
how my grandmother's guy that cut her grass chewed on his cigar while he's cutting the grass. He
Well, I
never
think
lit it
that
up,
makes a difference.
but he never lit it up.
But here's the thing: when you chew it, when you put your teeth on it, you don't build as much saliva in your mouth.
Yeah, I just
but you
start
just put it in your
drooling.
mouth. Yeah.
Oh, you slobbering for days.
Yeah, like,
Nah, man. Spitting and all that.
Spitty mouth.
Yeah.
So no doubt about that.
Oh, that's ironic you said that. For those that's in the military, specifically Army, those dippers.
Oh
Yeah. As one who's
Never
a
did
vet.
that.
So,
Never did that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, I didn't even smoke cigarettes. First thing I smoked was a cigar. So,
Oh, you a boss. Okay. Roger that.
and I knew enough not to inhale.
So smart.
Nah, not no Bill Clinton. No
Watch
Bill
yourself.
Clinton.
Whoa.
I don't think that's
Stop hating on
inhaling.
Bill.
I think that's
Yeah.
violating.
Yeah. Stop hating on Bill. Haterism.
It's all right.
Haterism.
It's all right. That's all right. We ain't gonna go into political, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So when the last time you guys been to the lounge? I mean, have you been noticing that the lounges are either picking up, dropping off?
Which
or,
lounge are we talking
I'll say
about?
any lounge.
Well, I go to Sycar every Tuesday,
Okay.
and I'm usually there from 3 to 5. So it's I can't tell you about the weekend nights popping or whatever. But we usually have 4 of us, but we've had 8 or 9 during the day. And again, back to my point of different backgrounds, most of those folks are self-employed or
Right.
salesmen that
Got their
are
own
on-
business. They can do their own thing
Yeah,
based on those
correct.
hours.
So we always talk shop. The neat thing about business is whatever business you're in, 70% of that business is the same business everybody else has to do, whether it's paying bills, doing your QuickBooks or your invoicing.
Roger
so
that.
when somebody has a problem, we all are there to be drawn upon to see if there's a solution to it. And then, of course, the interest is, what do you do that I don't do? So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'd say that I'm kind of shocked that it's been as busy, and I go once a week.
Okay.
And it's been decent. And the concierge there says that it's been pretty good.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Shout out to Cigar Concierge at IG, Instagram. Cigar Concierge. Shout out to Lou Liga Cigar Sessions, the new joint in Middletown.
Spartan up.
Spartan up. Oh, absolutely.
Omar E Square.
Omar E Square.
Nick and John Tobacco Field.
Tobacco Fields. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, folks, like I said, it's important that you go out again. You can't hear me say this enough.
Brick and mortar, baby.
Go
Brick and
support the
mortar.
brick and mortar. Again, this is where those conversations take place.
Yeah, actually, I was doing some ordering off of Thompson's and CI, and I stopped. The only thing I do with those guys is that one subscription.
Gotcha.
Because I don't get out of the house often because of the disability, so it's kind of nice when they show up at the door.
Right, of
Now,
course.
the concierge at Sycare. I care
Cigar.
about Sycare.
Cigar. That's spelled S, Sierra, India, Kilo, Alpha, Romeo for the military folks across
All right.
seas.
Sycar, S-I-K-A-R. So we keep talking about them and not the other guys. I've been to the other places, but once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know the people there very well.
Right.
So I'm sorry I keep focusing on one spot.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, the whole thing again, just the brick and mortar. This is where.
So it's funny because
Conversations
Dubsy
take
and I
place.
convinced Stone to come in and do this because of the conversations we have.
Oh,
And all we've
absolutely.
been talking about is road maps and cigar cutters.
Yeah.
And spelling for you guys. So
Oh,
I don't
man.
know.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, folks. Sitting back, having a conversation, telling a story, tell a lie, whatever you want to do. That's what it's all about. Get away from the spouse.
Oh,
Or
you
maybe
ain't
bring-
never
or bring- or
lied.
bring your spouse
You
with
ain't never
you.
lied.
If you're blessed to have a spouse, I don't know if it's a blessing or a
Bless
curse.
or curse. Yeah.
That your spouse is a cigar smoker like yourself. Hey, that's great. But if not, take that little break, hit the lounge, light a stick up, sit back, get your head right, and go back home and handle your business.
Or just the spot you've designated at your house. Like,
Well, right.
don't just go out on a porch or on your stoop and have a smoke. Make it a spot.
Yeah, again, like I said, it falls upon us now, and I've been, I think I said this on a podcast in the past that, fire pit, one kind of thing.
Oh, yes.
If you're not, again, folks, you can make your own fire pit. It's very
Oh, my
easy,
God.
very inexpensive.
Preach.
YouTube University. If you don't know how to make one, you go to YouTube University, type in how to build a fire pit. It's one of the best things you can build. Again, you sit back, throw some wood out there, light up a stick, enjoy the little breeze that's blowing upon your neck.
Right.
Got a fire going. There's nothing like invite some friends over. And again, those are things that make lifetime memories.
Yes.
There's nothing
Absolutely.
difficult about it. It's
Well,
nothing hard.
I think the way I met Stone was one of my driveway sip, snip. And
Yo, keep it going. Keep it going. And
So,
don't
no, believe it or not,
placate.
I
Don't
met you
placate.
at Cigar. You was DJing, but
Okay.
you don't probably remember. I got a
Yeah.
picture on my phone somewhere.
Right on.
When you DJ.
But you did come to one of those
I
sessions.
did, yes sir.
So-
I was
so-
blessed to be invited. Thank you.
Don't placate. Keep
Right.
it going.
So one of my buddies has a barber chair in his truck and would come cut my hair. because
Cigar
I can't get-
concierge. Yeah, cigar concierge. A cigar.
To
Yeah.
help me out because I really couldn't go into salons or barbershops anymore.
Yes.
So we had the neat idea to let a bunch of people know we're doing it, and we would do haircuts. Basically, my driveway turned into a black barbershop.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
Dubsy stepped on that. It turned into a black barbershop.
Yes.
And in my
This
neighborhood,
motherfucker, yeah.
no, but in my neighborhood, that's a little different.
Yeah, true.
So everybody that drove, and I live on a corner, so I'm at an intersection. Everybody that drove by during these things would slow down and wonder
Right.
because you
Yeah,
got
what's going on over there?
Well, you got plumes of smoke, rocks glasses full of brown liquor, and
Oh,
I'm sorry. Am I not allowed to say brown liquor anymore? I want that brown sugar.
Yeah.
That brown sugar in your glass.
No, but and then you had haircuts going. But it was a really neat time, and several of the guys open carry, So
Oh yeah, that was
so
that's a different
one day,
dynamic.
well,
as
no,
well.
it didn't happen all the time. But one day there was like six guns,
Yeah,
six
yeah.
guns on my driveway. It was
Just in case.
well, concealed carry. I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, it was
But I had to call a
just in
timeout.
case.
I had to call a timeout, and I said, guys, my white privilege only goes so far. So I need to know if this is the safest corner or the most dangerous
Hell
corner
yeah, it was
in
the
the county.
safest corner in that in your neighborhood. Yeah,
If
oh
I have to
yeah.
explain this away, I need to know
Yeah.
what I'm up against.
Right. I need to have a story. I need the background.
No, but those were great times, and I got to meet.
Yes.
So that was an extension of the lounge, because the first one was so successful. Friends of friends showed up,
Yeah.
and then some of those friends are now really good friends of mine.
Yes.
So it was like it's an extension of the community. So people knew, hey, they're going to be tasting, and people would bring different top shelf bourbons or rums.
Scotches.
Scotches.
Oh, my
and we all
God.
share.
You name
We'd slap that baby's ass each time we
Yeah.
opened a bottle.
Absolutely.
So
Oh, that's our tradition.
Yes, it is.
Let me, if I could.
Right.
That's our tradition in our group, our specific group. That you got to smack that thing. It's a ritual.
Well, you gotta
not
get a little-
not on those
I'm
stripper
sorry to interrupt,
Atlanta,
sir, but
not
you need
that
to get,
Atlanta.
yeah, you need to get a little more specific about what you're speaking of.
what you're slapping, Doug.
Yeah, yeah. You mean
You always take us
drive it.
halfway to the
Yeah.
story and then stop.
you got to break it down. It's not a visual podcast yet. We didn't get to the YouTube.
Right, we're going right.
So
this
what's
audio.
the tradition?
Yes.
Our tradition, as far as our crew within this podcast, because most of the podcast listeners, when we bring a bottle, the etiquette is when you bring a bottle, you leave the bottle to the host.
Yes.
Let me say that again.
Yes.
You bring a bottle, you leave the bottle to the host. That's proper cigar etiquette.
Yeah.
Especially if you at the host's house.
Okay, you keep drifting. We're
So-
That's a specialty.
Yeah, I know.
slap that ass.
We call it slap that ass. It's just a camaraderie type of thing that we got going on. That's
What?
it.
No, you never told them what it is. Before we open the bottle, we pass it around and everybody slaps the bottom of the bottle.
And we crack it.
Yeah, but you did. You never said that.
Thank you, P-Dub.
Now, I'm notorious for jumping in, but I
Oh,
no
I
doubt,
thought
doubt.
I was patient.
Yes.
This time.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
patience. Thank you.
Thank
God's
you.
going to bless all of y'all.
Yes.
And it's just a tradition that we have
And it's fun.
as far as camaraderie, so on and so forth. Now, here's the deeper aspect to it. When we get to talking about solving the world's problems over the cigar and the bottle, if it gets too deep where there's overstepping of ideologies
Or interruptions.
and interruptions, so on and so forth, first we shut it down. Shut what we call, as Bernie Mac, you already know the rest of it.
You can say it, brother.
The fuck up.
Shut up.
Then whoever has the bottle at that time has the floor.
Yeah, it's a talking stick, but it really isn't. But Dubsy will set a timer. You get a minute to make your point, and we have to do
He
this.
sets the timer.
No, not me.
I must say, yeah.
No.
He needs the timer to
Bad
be
word.
set.
Yeah, no.
We're just at when we need him right now.
Yeah.
Yes. 2
Yes.
minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Right, 2 minutes.
but it really helped. That was a particularly deep conversation that night because it was that incident 2 or 3 years ago where those dudes in the long white, I wouldn't call them robes, t-shirts or whatever, popped a cop in Philly, and it had just happened, and they didn't know who it caused a lot of trouble, and
Right.
it just happened that night before the day of our get together, and so it
Sparked a conversation.
Yeah, and the conversation wasn't cantankerous. It wasn't a cantankerous disputation.
Oh,
Right.
Watch yourself. Whoa.
But it was hot. So I learned a trick from something I did years ago, the talking stick. And so if you guys are having great conversations and there's not any headway being made, do that. You can't talk unless you're holding the stick or the bottle or whatever. And you just, if you want it next, you make it known, and whoever asks for it next first gets it. And
Right.
it really helps get that conversation
Yes,
back on
it
track.
creates structure. It creates structure.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe she gave some
Absolutely.
talking points to some other people that was interrupting some things, but we won't get into that.
Well, it's not even that he interrupts. No, it's not that he interrupts us.
You got that, Stone.
It's not
No,
that
I'm not talking about this guy.
No,
you
well,
talking about
I
my
am.
brother?
No.
I am.
I'm talking about some other things that's going
It
on
would
right
be
now in the world.
okay if he interrupted.
that dude.
See, you
That
guys are doing
dude.
that to me. It would be okay if he interrupted us and got to his point. But once he interrupts us, he starts taking us everywhere, which I love. But
Taking a long ride.
But
Hold on.
I don't know how long that ride will be, and I don't know how long our listeners have to sit there and wait for the
they're
payoff.
like, yo, what y'all talking about? What the hell are y'all talking about right now? Y'all smoking too much or drinking too much. Combination.
Can I ask this question though?
Absolutely. Questions are free. Answers
Okay.
may cost you.
Okay. Let me put it affable.
Now he doesn't want the answer.
No, I don't have no
Yeah.
problem with the answer.
Yeah.
If I'm using a J Dub and a P Dub colloquialism,
Oh, damn. Big words again.
would this be affable if I could say this?
Well, affable means nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Amicable means being compliant.
Compliant. Absolutely. Well, we already had those conversations
Right, well,
on the roost.
Just be affable.
On the roost. Hold on. Hold. Let me say this. The roost. Speak about the roost. The ROOST.
Oh, this
acronym.
This is my porch where we hang out, and I sit at home a lot for the disability, but I set up a bird watching thing right outside my window, and so the used to be called the Soggy Dog, but I changed the name to the Roost, and that's the Rosewood Ornithological Observatory Sanctuary and Tweet Zone.
Yes.
Say it again, sir.
Rosewood Ornithological Observatory Sanctuary and Tweet Zone. So that's the acronym that came out.
Gotcha.
I worked so hard to find a letter T.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, birds tweet.
Yeah.
You know, I
Tweet
was
zone,
avoiding,
yes.
I was avoiding tweet because of
Yes.
Twitter. No, but I didn't want to use tweet at first because it was Twitter. And I
Right.
was like, wait a minute, stop it. They have a bird in their logo
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
Yeah,
So-
Twitter just came upon us.
Mm-hmm.
They've been
So
tweeting
that's,
for
so
many
that's the
moons.
Roost. And this is a great place to get together. And it's a porch, and it's fall, a screened-in porch, but it's a really nice place to smoke.
Yes, it is, folks.
And that's why I said earlier, don't just go out and have a smoke. Set up a place to smoke.
Such a sanctuary up
Yeah.
where you would come, get your head right, light your stick, again, a glass of whatever you're drinking. Sit back and have a
And
conversation.
of course, you always have to have music.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If I could add this aspect to it, there's an anthrohistorical pathology to the Roost. Prior to my good buddy, my brother to the leaf, my dude, P-Dub, prior to his disability, he would have a November German Fest, Oktoberfest.
I called it the Sausage Fest.
The Sausage Fest? Roger that. For the Germans out there, when I say that the mustard, the what's the beer?
So-
the W beer, the W
Yeah.
beer.
So the mustard was Leuven in the tube. I got to get those tube mustards, nice, and the sharp mustard.
Yes.
And then the beer each year was a small keg of Warsteiner Dunkel.
Boston Dunkel. Woo!
Yeah.
Yo, for
And
those
then-
who don't know, go ahead.
And then I'd order from
Like me, people.
Yeah, and I'd always have currywurst, knockwurst, weisswurst, and bratwurst. And then people would try to make their German sides. Like, if anybody brought food, they would go
Okay.
out of their way to make the German Kartoffelsalat, potato salad.
Right.
Rotkohl. Somebody actually made an onion pie, which was delicious.
Wow. Yes,
Yeah,
I remember that year.
onion
Yes.
pie.
Yes.
It sounds bad. It's like a quiche without the egg in it. Like,
Okay.
it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo,
so,
that thing blazed.
So it was a lot of fun. Oh, and I'd ordered the brochen, the rolls. I'd have those, the real ones.
Yes.
I tried to make them one year. It's pretty intense.
Okay.
Yeah, there's all this technique. You got to let it rise 3 times.
Right.
You have to put ice in the oven with them cooking, so it made the crispy outer
really?
crust. Yeah, it's like
Interesting.
it was.
Sounds a little difficult.
Yeah, so that's why
Sounds like what?
that's why I ordered them later,
Yeah,
frozen,
smart man.
and they came out just fine. In
Yes.
fact, they were better than mine.
Hold on. Now, stop it, Stone.
No.
Stop it, Stone. Let me explain something. For those who don't know geography, Philly geography, the host of this podcast is from Logan in Philly. If you're familiar with Philly, where he's from, Logan is right across the street from Germantown in Philadelphia. So y'all already know.
I have to say, it's not very German anymore.
Not anymore.
They all moved to Lancaster to the
many
Midwest.
moons ago.
Yeah, you're
Many
right.
moons ago.
Yes.
It's not. Don't go there. Expecting it to be German.
Not at all.
No,
confused
not
by the name.
anymore. Not anymore.
You
I'm
may
just speaking in
be in for a rude
regards to
awakening.
our German audience. Yeah, if you come over to America, and specifically Philadelphia, yada yada yada.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, not Germantown in the sense of German.
Hell no, not no more.
Many moons ago, that was the case.
Many moons ago, yeah. And they still got the cobblestones on the Germantown Avenue.
Changed dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Philly is suffering right now with a mass number of shootings and violence in the city. Sad to say. Trying to figure out that reason. I know I was listening to something earlier today.
It's the same thing in Wilmington. And it's
urban
this little
cities.
small 5 square mile city. Man, well, you already know through social media, so on and so forth.
News.
General media. Well, Joe Biden, X, Y, and Z. Go and leave that alone. But, Wilmington is a hot spot. And
Right now, a lot of the urban cities, and I'm just trying to figure out what's maybe the reason for that, for the uptick in shootings.
Now you're going political. I think you're going through the
Not necessarily, just a question.
Just noticing.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's what I call it. Just noticing.
observation.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's an uptick in violence in the urban cities.
That attitude keeps me out of a lot of trouble. Oh, I just noticed. I wasn't. No,
Hey. Don't know why.
I just happen to notice that Germantown
Right,
isn't so German
that is
anymore.
my city.
Right.
Philly is my city. Right now, their numbers are up.
They all
Beyond-
change.
I think where it was at in 2007, as far as homicides.
Yeah, true.
As far as, you mean,
Very good. Yes.
yeah, homicides. The homicides up almost 400 at this point. We'll be in October. So those numbers hasn't been that high since maybe October
I'm just going to go here
2007.
as the token tonight.
Yes, sir.
No, you crazy as hell.
No, but this is a question that I think of a lot, and I'm sure most people do.
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't discussed enough on the news
Mm-hmm.
or in general, not just the news. But you have the Black Lives Matter movement, okay, and you have a definite focus on white cops or cops in general, because sometimes they're not white,
Right.
shooting black men, and protests, late night riots, all these things. I don't want to use bad puns here that aren't right. Ignite.
Right.
I want to know why that energy isn't applied to all the black on black crime in Chicago or Wilmington or Philly, where there's those neighborhoods where they're shooting each other up. I don't think I've ever heard anybody really talk about that. Now maybe that's just because the news doesn't, but maybe you do. I mean, is that a fair question? And I'm sure that I've offended everybody with it, but
Not at all. No.
No,
Well,
no,
my
no.
perspective on that would be, no matter where you live, it's demographics. So, again, you say black on black. If that's where you live, that's who you're going to have a dispute with.
Right.
Whether you live in an Italian neighborhood, those individuals you're going to have a dispute with. That's the ones
Yes.
So no matter where you live at,
If you're a Scorsese fan, you already know.
if you're in Mexico, so it's based on demographics.
okay.
But
But does it seem to be more concentrated in the black
Not-
community than
I
the
don't
other? Now,
think-
back in the day, the mafia was doing.
that's what I'm saying.
that.
So yeah, that's what I'm just saying.
No.
Based on demographics,
Okay.
if
So
you ask
really-
me.
So, but the neighborhoods, I guess, really need to figure out how to come together.
Well,
But
again, like I
they
said, have the
probably can't.
conversation.
Well, it's almost like the Hatfield and McCoys at this point.
True.
You know-
Irish shit. Well,
Yeah, no,
in
my
West
point
Virginia.
being that the
Well,
feud-
yeah.
That the feud is so deep between whatever people are upset with each other
Right,
that
again,
it can't.
become
There's no way to
economics.
make it neutral. There's no
Say
way.
it one more time.
Economics.
One more time.
Economics.
As we
So-
say in the Masonic realm, 3 times. Say it 3 times.
It just
economics.
is. That's force.
So
Yeah.
again, get
But
these
there's
turf
a-
wars, drug
right.
wars, going back and forth.
True.
And then just plain old revenge.
Right. So again, that's who you're dealing with. That's your demographics. So if you live in a black community, your dispute will be with another person of the same race. If you live in the Italian community, same scenario.
Yeah.
Whether it be Asian.
So that
So
makes a lot of
on and
sense,
on.
but I don't hear that brought up enough.
But there's also, and I'm not going to go deep, and my thing is only 15 seconds. The host of, not Stone, but the host of The Roost, we
That's
have
me,
conversation. Yeah, P-Dub. We have conversations on this. And he's an anthropologist by education. But I always said, shout out to Denny Boom.
Miss you. You need to show up sometime.
Yeah, true. There's an anthro-historical pathology that go with that. I'm not going to go with that. I'm not going to go deep with that. Anthro-historical pathology with that.
Well, you need to explain what you're saying right now.
Anthropology, the study of man.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What you're saying stops at the policy. What do you mean by the policy?
The policy is that's what y'all just spoke about in regards to Italian neighborhoods, Irish neighborhood, German neighborhoods, Polish neighborhood, even Russian neighborhoods, so on and so forth. There's a certain level of self-hate. Real talk. There's a certain level of self-hate and economic advancement to secure the individual or the collective. But there's a historical aspect as far as here on the continent, and I'm gonna leave it alone because that can go into a whole different realm and conversation. I'm gonna stop. Go ahead.
Okay. What he basically said is that there is a neighbor-driven or community-driven reality that is its own, even though it's in the city or the state or the country or the world. You're still going to have, it's almost like family. You know, the way you fight with family, you wouldn't necessarily fight with your friends.
Definitely.
Right? And so,
back in a second. All right.
I'm trying to find the words. It's like an internal struggle, but you still stay together. Because you'd think with all the strife in these different communities we've outlined, they would have broken up the community by now and moved away. Not meaning the law broke it up, but like,
right.
I can't live here and I'm moving out. But sometimes with your family, you can't do that.
Well,
so maybe that, you know, in the realm of what Dubsy just said, that is a big factor. And then you go back into the historical realities, the economics of it, for instance.
Right, like I said, because everybody
Exactly.
can't, you know, up and move based
Yeah.
on economics. Saying, oh, I have the money just to
pick up and
and
yeah, and
get out the neighborhood.
Yeah, you brought up the wherewithal. That's a big part of why you can't get out of a situation. You may
Right.
want to get out of
Absolutely.
a situation, but
you still have the finance and the resources to do that.
Right, but if the finances will give you enough to move, you might just move into the same situation somewhere else
That's true.
because you can afford it.
Right.
Yeah, so money drives a lot, and money causes
Absolutely.
a lot of problems.
Definitely does do that.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, folks. Again, this is a good conversation. We're going to have a part 2 to this thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate J-Dub, P-Dub being a
We
guest.
fired him, by the way. That's why he's not here.
Yeah, he's done.
He's been fired.
Definitely. With all those big words and folks can follow, we do apologize. We will attach Wikipedia and the dictionary to the podcast so you can decipher what he was talking about. But nonetheless, we thank you for listening. Thank you for being a guest, P-Dub. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and maybe next time we'll try to get into some good work, Dubsy and I call it. Where
Definitely.
It's a strong and tough conversation, but it has a goal
Absolutely.
to expand your awareness of whatever you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Goes a little deeper.
So today we were just kind of getting used to
a little
each other.
surface, right? Get a little surface, folks. We're going to do a part 2 here.
And I promise we won't talk about roads or, you know, the mundane, you know, get you into addresses and stuff you'll never know. And by the way, if you're coming to Delaware for a vacation because of this podcast, go to that Key West place I spoke about.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, don't go to Delaware,
Nah,
baby.
nah.
Unless
Don't
you
do
want
it.
to see screen door factories. You want to take a tour of one of those.
Yeah, good luck with that. Well, folks, thanks for listening. Appreciate you listening. Another episode of Smoke World has been put in the books. Again, follow me on Instagram, SmokeWorld50 Instagram. Send those emails to SmokeWorld50@gmail.com. I will see you guys on the other side. Stay safe and stay blessed. Peace.